Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Sunday Breakfast Bankroll, January 29, 2023. And I said Sunday. It's been a long time since we did a show on a Sunday. Life gets busy, work gets busy. I like to say the week is complete, but we're already on to next week, trying to schedule everything for next week. And today is a special day. I love Championship Sunday. I love it more than the Super Bowl. The 2-week hype usually doesn't get the magnitude of the game in the Super Bowl. Yes, we've had some great Super Bowls. Yes, they right down to the wire. Yes, but we've also had 30-point blowouts, snoozers. Today, you have the 4 best teams currently right now in the NFL. All 4 teams can win today. They're all coin flips. Overnight, last night, I think the public and the shops have spoken. It's kind of funny. A week of ankle it talks, this talk, that talk. I think everyone woke up this morning and just said, the hell with it. We're taking the home teams. But today is another special day. I want to say it's 2 months to the day. I remember it like it was yesterday. Mr. Webb and I were doing a Saturday show. Ohio State and Michigan was the headliner. We talked some other games. And then again, life gets busy. And so not that we don't communicate, not that we don't want to do shows together, because you're going to see us every day or every other day real soon when the baseball starts getting heated up. But we're blessed and honored to have the return of Beam 'em Up Scotty from Florida, Tampa, where it's warm. It's actually pretty warm here in Cape Cod, but not like Scotty Webb warm. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Scott E. Webb. Good morning, sir.
Jeff, man, it's great to be back. It's I will tell you this, the weather is really nice today. I mean, we're supposed to hit 80. So I don't know if it's going to hit 80 for you up there, but I'm running around in shorts and a t-shirt, my friend.
Well, as you see, when I saw you get into the studio, I went straight live because I know us. And if we started talking before the show, we might have got this show off right before kickoff. So I was like, you know what? Let's go live. So before we dig in, how's life? How's the last couple of months been in Florida? Yourself, I know you're doing a ton of work with baseball, and I know this is the NFC and AFC Championship Day. We're going to get into that, people, so relax. But how's life been? The holidays. How's your preseason, or should I say spring training baseball coming?
Well, I can tell you that I had a great Christmas, great holiday. This is the first one without Dad, so it was kind of a interesting time for me. But it was nonetheless, it was great. Got all the lights up, did all the fun stuff that my wife likes, and all that stuff. Working through injuries, I still have that torn meniscus in my knee. So whatever, it is what it is. I hobble around every once in a while, and other times it's great. So looking forward to having to fix that, because the guy said, well, we're going to do a knee replacement. And I'm like, Pat, keep pushing that back. So, just working out that part of it. I saw my brother for the first time in probably 20 years, maybe the second time in 20 years. So we reconnected. So that was good. So I appreciated that. And he came down and we spent some time together. So that was fun. and maybe we rekindled some things, and maybe we'll talk more. So that I thought that was great. So my life's been really pretty good over the last little bit. With the baseball stuff, I've got 35 pages, I think, written, something like that so far. I'm really now just, part of it is, and for those who don't know, I write a preview magazine every year, or try to write one every year. Last year was a little more difficult, but the issue is it's just a preview magazine for the season, but it's also a sort of a betting guide, so that it helps people figure out how to bet on baseball. So the 35 pages I've written so far mostly are all just articles on how to gamble on baseball. So, and different things to look at and some of the different fun stuff that's going on with those things. But so just now starting to get into the teams, and what I like about this year as opposed to say last year, all the free agents that matter are already signed. The team variances aren't going to be very much. I mean, you pick up this guy, you pick up that guy, you add a little depth for this, you get a little bit right-handed, left-handed platoon situations going on. I don't think anything that anybody's going to sign right now is going to be a catalyst that changes, the thoughts on who's going to win the divisions or how many games they're going to win. So I think it's time to start diving in and getting the prognostications going on, and seeing how we can get some data going, and making some bets. That's kind of really what I'm looking forward to right now.
The futures, we always have fun. I'm going to try to get back to I'm scheduled March 20th to land in Vegas. It's a Monday. I generally will be out there for 2, maybe 3 weeks, but probably just 2 weeks. March Madness, some fantasy baseball, and obviously some futures and stuff. And you and I did the contest last year at the Westgate. Hopefully planning to do that again. I sent you some odds. It's just mind-blowing. From my Red Sox standpoint, they can sit back and say, hey, we knew 2 years ago or however long ago, once we signed Story, unless we got the price that we wanted for Bogarts, there was no way that we could sign Bogarts and Devers, which there was a way they could have, but they're just moving in a different direction. But the holes that they have every which way but loose, I mean, their lineup is kind of laughable. I think their starting staff, obviously depends on how many games Sale starts. Will Paxton come back? Will he be effective? I don't like, as you know, the fact that they're using Whitlock as the starter instead of the back end. They made a promise to him. They said, hey, we're going to flip-flop you last year, but we promise you that you're going to get a starting opportunity, because obviously that's where the money is. If he flops there, then they can move him back there. Balo, I think, will be better. But at 4,000 to win the American League East, and I'm a diehard Red Sox fan, you know that. But isn't that seem like a little outrageous?
Well, that's a lot of money. But I will tell you that between Toronto and the Yankees, and you still got to put the Rays up there too. They've got a big hill to climb. I mean, they just do. Those are some pretty strong teams in that division. And here's what a lot of people don't think about. And everybody knows about the shift, right? Everybody's talked about the shift until, I don't even know if they've talked about it too much yet, but I know that I've thought about it until my damn shirt's, well, I've got a white one on now, but until my shirt's blue, I'm like tired of thinking about the shift. But what people aren't really looking at is, and they haven't really talked about a whole lot, and I did a big, I shouldn't say I did it. I'm like, look, other people can do this stuff, and I just analyze what they did. So Fangraphs did a really big thing, and Mike Petriello from baseball.com on the balanced schedule. So people aren't talking about the balanced schedule. And that matters, because now this season is the first season where every team will play every team. And you don't have the American League East teams playing each other 19 times anymore. So what that means is that some teams are going to have an advantage. Some teams are not. So you would think, okay, well, Cleveland, for example, is not going to have a good advantage because, they're not going to get to play the Tigers, and they're not going to get to play, the Royals and these teams that aren't very good. But really what happens, though, is that teams in the American League get an advantage because they don't have to beat each other up so many times. So that's an edge in the American League East to begin with. So when you start to think about kind of how this plays out, what I thought was interesting is they did a study, right? So based on the old model and who would be playing who for this season, and then on what the balance schedule looks like, it came out to that the American League East and the American League West have the biggest advantages of all baseball. And then everybody else is kind of not so much, or they're worse. So teams in the National League East have it the worst. They're the worst in the balance schedule. And a lot of that has to do with who they would have played versus who they're playing now. So in the 2023 schedule and rotations, if you remember right, they would have matchups by league. So like the American League East would play the National League Central or something. Well, now they got to play everybody. So the National League East would have been set up against like the American League Central. So now they lose all those games and they have to pick up games in the American League East and the American League West. So now they got to pick up those games against the Astros and the Mariners, and they got to play the resurgent Texas Rangers and all those teams in the American League East. So yeah, sure, they lose a little bit of the games that they're playing in their own division, but their own division is really tough. So they are the league that's hurt the worst. So when we're really looking at those season win totals and stuff, you got to keep that in mind, that some of these teams are getting at edges and others aren't. And I don't think people are talking about the balanced schedule at all.
I'm going to ask you, I have another question before we get into football, but I don't know if you know, listen, as you said, you talked about the resurgent Texas Rangers. They go out last year, they bring in Seager, they spend money, they got DeGrom this year. My question that I have to you, and I don't even know if you have the answer, I'm just asking you, will the two kids from Vanderbilt, will either one of them be ready, both of them, or are they still going to be one banged up still, or they both still hurt, or are they going to be sizzling in the minors?
I don't think either one of them is going to pitch for them in the majors.
Okay.
They have brought on so many players now. They're rotate. Well, let me just pull. I'll pull it up and tell you what it looks like. So the Rangers, where are you? They're there. So the Rangers' projected starting rotation right now is Jacob deGrom, Martin Perez. Then you have John Gray, who was their number one last year. Mm-hmm. Then you have Nathan Eovaldi and Andrew Heaney. There's no room for any of these guys. So sure, they've got guys coming, but they're not gonna be ready to go yet. And looking at it, Josh Jung got hurt last year. He's their number one prospect. He's going to play third base. So if he can stay healthy, he's the 15th overall prospect in all of baseball. So I think he's going to be a big help to them. Jack Leiter, who I think one of the guys you're talking about, mm-hmm. He is the 29th overall prospect in all of baseball. He's the number 2 Rangers prospect, and he's projected to be at AA or AAA level this year. So that would mean that unless he does something outrageously stellar, then, and there's a need for him, a playoff push or something, and they really need somebody like him to come up. The reality is going to be is that I think next year, 2024 then would be the year that you would see Al Leiter, or Jack Leiter, I'm sorry. So I think that's where you're going to see some of these guys fall into play for the Rangers, because look, they went out and got a pitching staff. So, I mean, you can say what you want to about their how they did or whatever they did, but if you're the Boston Red Sox, I think you would want their starting rotation over the one you have. And I don't mean that personally because you're a Red Sox fan. I'm just in general making a statement. They can compete. Now, can they compete at the level of what the Astros are, or can they compete at what the Seattle Mariners are? It depends. Seattle did really well last season, and maybe they had guys that overachieved. I don't know. We'll see how that works. And to a certain degree, I think that a lot of the Texas Ranger players, some of them were hurt, some of them underachieved. Gray didn't get to pitch that much. Martin Perez certainly overachieved. But it's one of those situations where you sit there and you go, okay, well, maybe they got what it takes to at least get a playoff spot. And if you get a playoff spot, who knows what happens? I mean, look what the Phillies did.
Any updates on the arm, the shoulder, whatever the condition on John Rocker? It's John Rocker, right? That was the other Vanderbilt kid.
Yeah, I can look real quick. He is where is the pictures for these guys? He is they're all clear to bottom. When you want something, they're all the way down at the bottom. I don't even see him listed on here, to be honest.
Kumar Rocker, TJ says.
Yeah, Kumar. Yeah, there he is. Kumar Rocker. They've got nothing set for him. No projection. No determination of where he's even going to pitch, what level he's going to pitch at. So I would have to let me click on him and see if anything comes up. Nothing comes up. He's a non-roster invitee. It says play in the Arizona Fall League. So, maybe he's doing something at this point.
And by the way, TJ, John Rocker used to be a space cadet and a hard throw-in relief pitcher from the Braves. So, again, coffee hasn't kicked in. TJ asks, why did the Mets World Series number change for signing Correa and not move back? Good question. I mean,
well, people aren't going to like me very much that are Mets fans, and I'm sorry, TJ. I don't think that the Mets are a team. Yeah, they went out and spent $8 million and all that stuff, but I don't think they're necessarily a whole lot better than they were last year, if at all better than they were last year. So if you're not better than you were last year, and you've got to compete against teams like the Braves and the Phillies, and I think the Phillies got a little better. I mean, they got better just by getting the shortstop Turner. So the Phillies are better, and now, granted, you're not going to have Bryce Harper for a little while, but and then the Braves are in a spot where they're just a dynamic team all over the place. I mean, the Braves are just a good team. So I think what you run into with the Mets is they spend a lot of money, but I'm not sure that they're any better than what they were a year ago. I mean, I get it. Verlander probably more consistent. Maybe he's going to start more games than what DeGrom did, and theoretically he's going to should be just as good as what he was last year. But DeGrom is not Verlander, meaning that when DeGrom's on the mound, he still throws 100 miles an hour. I mean, DeGrom throws 100 miles an hour, and he's not hittable. I mean, he's just not hittable. You're going to hit a home run off him, and that's how you're going to score, or you're not going to score. Verlander can lose games. Verlander can throw the ball all over the place at times. And he's, 50 years old. So I think you run into the problem that Verlander is going to be a situation where, yes, you might get more starts out of Verlander. But I also think you're going to run into the issue of they're not any better than they were a year ago, and the other teams are.
All right, one more question. I mean, we're 20 minutes deep. We haven't even talked about the two games today, but it's great to be back here. World Baseball Classic. I looked at DR's lineup, and I'm like, if I was a pitcher for any team, I'd take a pass that day. Thank you. I mean, that's just insanity. And I know it's the World Baseball Classic. Anything can happen. If you happen to pull up that lineup for anyone watching and listening right now, Scotty, if you could just read that from top to bottom, I don't see a hole, but I just think it is comical to look at this starting lineup.
I thought I posted something on that. Hang on one second. I'm looking at, here we go. I posted something on I didn't list them all out. So on my website, I put something out. When was this? This was January. This was way back in January 11th. I posted some stuff about who's playing in this thing. So this is the best of all the best players that are playing baseball. I mean, it just is. It's the best of the best. Now, between so the United States team has never really fielded all-stars and the rock star players. Nolan Arenado played the last time and they won. Now you got to keep in mind that even though some of these guys are listed pitchers are going to pitch, the reality is this is spring training for them. They're not going to throw complete games. They're not going to throw, they're going to be on pitch counts. They're going to throw, 3 innings, 4 innings, just like they would in an exhibition game that they're playing, although these are competitive game situation kind of games. So the relief pitchers are important, and that they might back up a starting pitcher with another starting pitcher, for example. That kind of stuff happens. So here's some of the guys who are slated to play for the United States. Okay. So Paul Goldschmidt's going to play for the United States. Nolan Arenado is going to play for the United States. Trey Turner's going to play for the United States. Mookie Betts is going to play for the United States. Mike Trout's going to play for the United States. So those are guys that are cream of the crop, best of the best. And they're going to play. And then when you think about who's going to play for the Dominican Republic, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Wander Franco, Jose Ramirez, Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez. I mean, guys, this is going to be the funnest thing. And if you've not watched this before, the countries and the teams, they just are. It's a different level of baseball, and it's so much fun and it's so exciting, and I can't wait. The line at the time, and I don't know where it is now, but the line at the time. To win the baseball classic was the USA plus 225, Dominican Republic plus 225. That's the line. And then the next closest team was Team Japan at plus 500. And then Team Puerto Rico at plus 800. And then Team Venezuela at plus 1,000. So I don't know if that's changed much because I haven't really looked. And two, you got to get to a point where these lines I shouldn't say lines, the rosters actually solidify. So, some of these guys say they're going to go play and then, for whatever reason they can't. That's like Acuna. Acuna wants to go play in this and the Braves aren't letting him. So that's another shot to somebody's team that he's not going to go play. And I just saw that the pitcher that the Mets signed from Japan, he's not going to go play and pitch for Japan. So if he's not going to pitch for Japan, then that creates a problem for that league, for that team. So as these things wind up and get down here a little closer, it kicks off in March. So I'll have a lot more stuff on this stuff as it gets a little bit closer, and you start looking at lineups and what does that look like and what does it compare to and all of that stuff. And it's baseball is an amazing thing, and this is going to be an amazing event, and I can't wait. I got my hat on.
I see. All right, guys. 3:00 today, rotation number 321, 322. The San Francisco 49ers, winners of 12. I said it, 12 games in a row with the Brock star, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Traveled to the Philadelphia Eagles. My initial opening numbers was Eagles minus 1.5 with a 46 under minus 15 cents. Currently live as we speak at the Circa. Woke up this morning. Eagles minus 3 even. So if you were in Vegas on Fremont Street and you wanted the Niners, it will cost you minus 320 plus the 3 under over 45, Mr. Webb. So you are unlike a lot of people on how you break down these games, your analysis, your numbers. So the stage is yours. Have at it.
Okay. So what I think is pretty cool about this game is in a lot of ways, these are mirror images of each other. I mean, these are two defensive-minded football teams to begin with. Now, I say that, and then all of a sudden everybody's going to go, oh, what about the offense? Because these great offenses. I mean, if you look at DVOA, Football Outsiders has this as a mismatch. Since for the complete season, if you look at DVOA, the Eagles rank a little better. But if you take away the very first game, and if you remember back to the very first game, because I had to look it up. So if you go back to the very first game, the San Francisco 49ers played the Chicago Bears in a rainy game in Chicago, and it was a bad game for the 49ers. I mean, they didn't play well. So after that game, from that game to the rest of the season, the 49ers are better. And then if you look at from when McCaffrey came to the 49ers, it's not even close how much better they are. Now, having said that, you also have to remember that's when Jalen Hurts got hurt. So there's a little bit of conflict in my mind as to what that number means. So, any data that you look at tells one side of one story, but doesn't tell everything. So you have to kind of balance all of this out. So when you look at how this works, I think that the way things should kind of in your mind relate, you have Brock Purdy, who's been a game manager of quarterback. Sure, he's made some plays. You have to make plays in the NFL or you're not going to win. So he's made plays. But he's been a game manager. Now, in the games that he's played in, how many times has they been behind by 2 scores? I don't know that they've really been behind by 2 scores that often. And not only that, I think they kind of like it where they're playing. They don't want to be, not that they don't want to get way ahead because they've scored some points with him at quarterback. So I think that the problem that they're going to run into is that the Philadelphia Eagles are number 1 in the NFL at scoring in the first half. They're 18 points a game. That's their average, is 18 points a game. So if you remember last week how San Francisco played Dallas, they ran the ball a lot. And they were very conservative in that because they didn't fear Dallas. I don't think. I think they figured they could cover Dallas. They could stop the run. And they certainly didn't fear the quarterback for Dallas. So I think this is a little different though, because if you get behind Philadelphia, the problem's going to be is how much pressure can Philadelphia put on Brock Purdy, and They that's a team that had over 70 sacks for the season, one of the best ever recorded. I think they're third best ever recorded in terms of number of sacks. So that doesn't necessarily mean pressure. They had over 90 pressures. But what's really cool is that they had a spot where they are in a position that they can rush the passer from anywhere. So they can run it from the tackle. They can run it from the end. They had 4 or 5 guys that had double-digit sacks. San Francisco on the other side, they get pressure too, but they get it from Bosa. He had 18.5 sacks. They don't get pressure from everybody. They just get it from him. So it's a little different how these teams kind of do the stuff. So what I kind of see here is that I think that San Francisco plays from behind, and they have to play from behind early. And I think that creates a problem of being a game manager quarterback and also sticking to the idea that you're going to have a formula of game plans to be able to stick to. Last week, they've had 30 plays on offense in the second half. 21 of those plays were runs. So I don't think you can do that today. I think you're going to be in a stuck position, especially if you're playing from behind, which then puts the Eagles in the best spot. They're the number 1 pass defense in the football game. They're number 1 pass defense in the NFL. So I think when they put pressure on them, they have the guys that cover the quarterback. I think that puts the 49ers in a tough spot. So my opinion in this game is that I think that the game is very similar to the teams. And another couple of spots here that I think is worthy of mentioning is that in the second half, on 3rd and 4th down, there's a big defensive edge to the Eagles. The Eagles rank 2nd on defense on 3rd and 4th down against the pass. The San Francisco 49ers rank 23rd. So if you're telling me that the Eagles can get off the field and the 49ers can't, again, I still think that leads to how the Eagles can score points, keep the ball. The other issue that I have is the Eagles are 9th in offense in the red zone, and the 49ers are 21st on defense in the red zone. So if they can get there, I think the Eagles have the ability to capitalize. And I think that the 49ers are going to have a hard time all the way through. The other question I'll have, and I'm sure you already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because maybe not everybody does. How many quarterbacks have started the Super Bowl that have been a rookie? The answer is 0. And what is Brock Purdy?
A rookie.
So you're going to ask Brock Purdy to do something that nobody else has ever done before, and there's been way better quarterbacks throughout the NFL than Brock Purdy. So I'm not saying that Brock Purdy's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying that it's not something that happens. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't care what the line is. I played the Philadelphia Eagles. I got them at -2.5. I also played the Philadelphia Eagles in the first half because I think they're going to get ahead. They only had to cover 1 when I bet it. I think it might be 1.5 now. So I like the idea that they're going to do that. And I also like the idea that Purdy's going to have to play from behind. He's going to have to try to do things that they haven't asked him to do. I think he's going to be mistake prone. So I bet him on a prop bet over a half on interceptions. So I think he's going to at least throw 1.
You know, it's funny because I go back to last week's game, Dallas versus San Fran, and I'm going to take it a step further here. I'm going to go back a week prior to that, Seattle and San Fran. That wasn't Jim Zorn quarterbacking for Seattle. That wasn't Russell Wilson in his prime. That was Geno Smith. And no disrespect to Geno. Geno had probably, if you're looking for a comeback player of the year, there's not even a question who the damn quarterback, who that should be, and that's Geno Smith. But what really opened my eyes is how do you beat San Francisco? It's not up front in the trenches. It's not 5 and 10 yards deep. It's stretching the field. They're at their weakest from the very back moving in. And Geno's stretching the field with Metcalf, with Lockett, with their tight ends. Played a great first half. They just ran out of gas. Listen, the Niners were far superior. Now I look at a Dallas team with CeeDee Lamb, with Gallup, with Schultz, with a better offensive line than Seattle. And that's all Dak did was dink, dunk. Never once really tried to stretch that field. They were too concerned with Bosa. That game was lost very simply right here. It is 2nd and 2 from the San Fran 18-yard line. Pollard's in the blue tent. Okay? Dak's lining up in shotgun, 0 running back set. He threw his second interception. The game was over there. So, in my eyes, you have a good offensive line, a mobile quarterback, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith taking it to the next level, go down the seams. Listen, if Bosa wants to, they're going to get stretched early and often. You talked about the Eagles. You talked about their first half blitz, meaning how their no one has scored more points in the second quarter. It's not even close in the NFL than the Eagles. So I love everything that you said. I think you're 100% spot on. Meanwhile, in November, ECSI, the VIPs, we're sitting there early November with the Niners at 14-1. Some got them at 13-1. We gave that out the Sunday that Jimmy G got hurt. And I'm like, oh, we might as well just burn those right now. Burn them. And then I think a week later, we give out the Bengals at 13-1. Mr. Lucky's holding that one proud. And I'm looking at these 2 damn games. So, Scotty, before the tournament started, I had no Eagles. I had no Chiefs. I had to get in there. I wasn't getting the plus 180s or 170s. I'm like, no. So we got Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP at plus 650. We got Patty Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP at plus 400. So obviously we would love to see a rematch from 1990, whatever, 49ers and Cincinnati. But I think obviously you're spot on with your analysis. in this San Fran Philly game. And it's funny because when I saw the opening numbers last Sunday night at 45.5, my first numbers said, I like the over here. I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball. Not that I'm diving into the over. Am I crazy to think that this has a shot? I mean, because Vegas, the way this number's moving, Vegas has got this right now, 24-21. That's what they got it. So do you think at any point San Fran can get to that 23-24 number? Or is this going to be, like you said, if San Fran is down 10-0, 13-3, Shanahan's still going to try to run the ball with Debo and McCaffrey. But do you think they have Brock take a few more shots?
I think they will, because they have to. If you want to win the game, you're not going to run the ball and beat the Eagles. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to figure out how to move the ball, and you're going to have to figure out how to get short fields. You're going to have to win the special teams game. You're going to have to do a lot of things. And I think it stacks up to a point where it's too much. It's too much to ask. Now, if you had Joe Burrow on the other side and you had all those other weapons, right? That's a whole different mix. That's a whole different conversation that we're having, because I don't think anybody cares if Joe Burrow gets behind, but if you're Brock Purdy, right, that's a different problem. So and the pressure that they're going to face is a different animal. He hasn't seen this. I heard somebody say, I don't remember who it was at this point, like, well, he's only had 2 road games. And that's the truth. He's only had 2 road games. And to be honest, Seattle's not a great place to go play if you're playing on the road, but it's not like playing in Philadelphia. And I think the other game that they played on the road was against the Raiders. So, I mean, what the hell? That's no big deal either, because they might have had more people there than the Raider fans did. So the truth of the matter is, this is going to be the first true hostile environment that he's played in. Now, he's an Iowa State kid, so he's used to the cold weather, so that's not going to bother him. But I do think that I think he's going to be in over his head. He's not going to have seen this defense. I get it. He's got guys around him, in the McCaffreys and the Kittles and the Debos and the Ayuks and all those. I mean, he's got the talent around him, but the defense is just as talented to stop those guys as they are good. And he's going to have to make plays, and he's not seen pressure like this. And to be honest, I mean, you got 70 sacks, 90 some pressures. And the reality becomes this: there's not many people that ever seen pressures like this. And the Eagles, when they were clicking on all cylinders, Jalen Hurts wasn't hurt, and they weren't trying to protect things and all this stuff. Man, they were the highest scoring offense and the lowest scoring defense. Certainly things have changed since he got hurt and some other things, but I think he's going to be unleashed today. I think he might run the ball 10, 12 times. I think he could get to a point where he's got favorable numbers regarding his yardage props. And I will say this, I can't bet it, so that's why I didn't give it out. But in regards to, I think that I saw the number, I think it was 37.5 yards as the longest pass to go over. I would go over that number with Jalen Hurts. I think it's minus money, so I don't know if you want to do that. But I think they will. I think they're going to get a 40-yard pass or a 45-yard pass, because I think that from what I've seen, Jimmy Ward for the 49ers, who's their best cover guy, he's not that good. He can get beat, and you've got guys on the Eagles side that can beat him. So I like the Eagles in this game. The other thing you might want to consider is, the game now is 3. Maybe you go and say, hey, well, what's the number if I do an alternate line at -4? What's another alternate number at, say -5, and I have to cover 6? You might be able to get some really good value there, because there's a good likelihood that this game they win by 7 or more.
And everyone watching and listening, we got a lot of watching and listening right now. Guys, if you're into the prop worlds, there's a sneaky guy out there. I don't know what his anytime touchdown is. I don't know his first time, the first touchdown, he will be through the roof. I don't know what his prop numbers are, but he is sneaky as hell, I think, this week for the Eagles, and that's Quez Watkins. And I think if they get him out there in the right spot here and there, listen, the guy's got speed to burn. I don't know, Scotty, if you're pulling up any props right now.
I'm pulling it up right now.
What do you have on Quez?
Quez Watkins at DraftKings, first touchdown score. First touchdown score for Quez Watkins plus 4,000.
Okay. Anytime touchdown?
Anytime touchdown plus 800.
Woo! Now listen, let's swing him for the fence. When I give stuff like this out, it's pizza and beer money. I don't want you to go to run to the window and put 500 on this thing at 4,000. I mean, if it ever hit, God bless you.
Jeff, you're telling me plus 4,000 means I'm not supposed to go put $4,000 down on it?
But it's just someone in my head that I just know how you beat this team. And he's a guy that comes out there and listen, I know everyone's concentrating on A.J. Brown. Everyone's concentrating on Devontae Smith, Goddard, Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts. But just, guys, if you're feeling froggy today, Quez Watkins, keep an eye on that.
Well, the Jalen Hurts prop went up to 39.5 now, minus 110.
Rushing?
Longest
pass?
Longest pass, yeah.
Okay. 6:30 tonight, rotation number 323, 324. My initial opening numbers was a pick 'em at 48 under minus 11 cents. Now currently at the circa 2-48. Guys, I saw Kansas City minus 1.5. Then obviously we saw the ankle injury with Mr. Mahomes. And then we saw Chad Henne come in. And then we saw Patrick come back in. This is a casino's dream here because you had Kansas City literally minus 1.5. And then speculation, is Mahomes playing? Is he going to be 100%? Bengals tipped to as high as minus 2.5. We saw the press conference. We saw Pat practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The public has spoken. The Sharps have spoken. Whoever has spoken. Bengals now minus 2. Now, Joe, 3-0 lifetime against the Chiefs. They beat them last year, where we'll go back to right before the half, a 14-point lead by the Chiefs, and Andy wants to send the kicking unit in there to get a 17-point lead because why? They were getting the ball to start the second half. And Patty Mahomes pulled the temper tantrum, and instead of Andy Reid grabbing him by his ear and say, son, get your ass over here. We're taking the 3 to get up 17. Ran one play, didn't get another play, and the rest is history. Bengals come back, go to the Super Bowl. Now, in Cincinnati this year, Kansas City was a 1.5-point favorite. Kansas City was up 10 mid to late third quarter. Now up 3. Kansas City driving on the 40 of Cincinnati, about to put the game out of reach, and something that happens very, very rarely, a Kels fumble, and Cincinnati gets the ball, ends up tying, winning the game. Burrowhead Stadium now, the Bengals are talking about an absolute amazing performance last Sunday in Buffalo. The perfect storm, I thought, with the snow, the sleet, whatever you want to call it over there. This team, first of all, Joe's got it. Joe's got the moxie. He's got it, and he potentially could be a legendary. I compared him last year to Marino. Second year, got to the Super Bowl. As TJ said, Ben Roethlisberger did the same. I'll take my shot that Joe has a better career, nothing against Ben, than Ben Roethlisberger, and Marino. We'll see about that. But where I'm going with this is Joe has the two backs, the Mixons, the Pirines, to move the chains when they have to. He has Jamar Chase. He has T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, the emergence of Hayden Hurst. They have the better kicker. I could check so many boxes on the Bengals side, and I'm just torn again that somehow, some way, this time Mahomes finds a way. Scotty, the stage is yours.
All right. So you talked about the line flip-flop and all that stuff. So I went back And I do some of these searches and do some of these things, and I tried to find out. Well, let me quantify how many points is Patrick Mahomes worth. I mean, how many points is he really worth to the line? Because that matters. So if he's not going to play, it matters. So I went back and I found an article, and I've got it pulled up here on my computer right now. This is an article from BetQL, and this is back in January 20th, 2021. So it says, how many points is Patrick Mahomes worth to the point spread? And in that game that they were getting ready to play, the issue was he had a toe problem, and they didn't know if he was going to play. And not only did they not know if he was going to play, they didn't know how good he was going to play. Well, okay, well, what does that match today's game? It's the same problem. So they did an analysis, and they talked to Cornegay, and they talked to what's the other guy's name? Menino, sportsbook directors. And they go, well, how much is he worth? What's going on? And they both said, well, it's not how you do it. What you have to do is you got to go and say, who's his backup? His backup at that time was Chad Henne, and his backup today was Chad Henne. Well, back then, they said that he's worth 5 points more than what Chad Henne is if Chad Henne were to play. So I get when they said, okay, he's -1.5 at the beginning, right? They said, okay, they're going to be -1.5. Okay, well, we don't know if he's going to play. So then this line started changing, and the line started changing. It got up to 2.5. Well, so I looked at it this way. I never thought that he wasn't ever going to play. So I kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, if he's 5 points better than Chad Henne, he's probably 3 points better than Chad Henne if he's hobbling around. So I'm going, okay, so he's worth 3 points to the line. So I could understand the move from -1.5 for the Chiefs to now -2.5 for the Bengals. Makes sense to me. It's a little more than 3 points, but still makes sense. Now, then he starts falling back because, okay, they can see him walking around. They can see him, kind of moving around. He practiced all week. Okay. So now the line flips back to where it's -1.5, -2 points. So I think the line's where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. I don't think the line is anything more than that kind of fallacy of, well, what's he going to be like? I will say this. I don't think he's going to be the Patrick Mahomes that we've seen all season this week. I think physically he can't be. Now, I would say that a high ankle sprain is some kind of injury that sometimes it's very damaging and you're out 4 to 6 weeks. Other times it's way less, and it's way, way less. And in his case, I'm going to say it's way less because he can get up and he can move around. Now, what I didn't know, and I listened to Dr. Chow there for a little while when he was talking about these injuries, he said there was a quarterback that had the same problem this year, and then he came back and played, and there was only one. It was Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had a high ankle sprain, came back and played in the same game, just like what, because I don't remember who the quarterback was Tyrod Taylor or somebody like that, got hurt, and for the Giants, and he had to come back and finish up the game, and then he had to play next week. So he was expecting, and I would take his word, and that's kind of what I'm doing. He was expecting him to be at least 70 to 75% of what he's supposed to be. And I'm like, well, that's probably better than most NFL quarterbacks, to be honest. So then I looked at, okay, well, what does that really mean? Well, Football Outsiders did a really good study on this. So Patrick Mahomes, let me get my numbers so I make sure I don't mess it up, led the NFL with 183 rollout drop back passes this season. 183 designed rollout passes. Now that's not scrambles, that's designed, right? Rollout or scramble type passes. He was the number 2 efficiency passer, only to the kid in San Diego Los Angeles Herbert Aber. Anyway, so he's really good in those spots and making those plays happen. Okay, so what happened when he got hurt? He came back in the game. They threw 20 passes when he got hurt and he came back in the game. One. One pass was a designed rollout. One pass was a designed scramble. That's it. One. So he is very much a different quarterback. Now he's a good pocket passer, so don't get me wrong. He's good in both. But what makes him dynamic is his ability to make those plays when they're broken. And I think what you're going to find out is because of that, the game plan will change. And what I mean by the game plan will change is I think Kansas City is going to run the ball more. I think they're going to get to a point where they're going to try to dink and dunk and run like the old 49ers head coach Walsh type of offense out in San Francisco. So what does that mean? That means they're going to have time of possession. So they're going to have, even if they have to go 50 yards, Jeff, they might run 10 plays to go 50 yards. And if they have 10 plays that run 50 yards, I think they're going to end up eating up clock. So the first analogy that I have that kind of plays into this is I think this game is not an over game. I think this is an under game. And I think Cincinnati on the other side, I think Cincinnati is not going to get stopped. I mean, they're going to have their stops. They're going to get to where they have to punt. But they're going to drive the ball. They can go 90 yards plus and score touchdowns with any team in the NFL. They have the talented players to do that. In fact, when you match up the talented players on the teams, I have it listed as I'll take Burrow over a hobbled Mahomes. I'll take Cincinnati's playmakers over Cincinnati. I'll take Cincinnati's pass defense. I'll take Cincinnati's run defense, and I'll take Cincinnati's special teams. That only leaves the coaching to go to Kansas City, and the offensive line only goes to Kansas City.
And the tight end.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you were to wrap up all the special team or the playmakers, I still think you got more playmakers on the Cincinnati side. So when I kind of think of it in that regard, I don't think that it's I don't see sometimes why Cincinnati's not the favorite to begin with because they're the better football team. Now I get it. It's at Kansas City. Both teams, Kansas City's won 12 games or whatever it is. Cincinnati won 11 games or whatever it is during the season. And these teams are really, really close. So seeding wise goes that way. What's really neat is in weighted DVOA from Football Outsiders. And this isn't the first time, but it's like the second time it's ever happened. The rating for Kansas City is 32.4%. 32.4% ranks third in the NFL. The rating for Cincinnati, 32.4%. Exactly the same. And that's an amazing thing for there to be exactly the same and all of that stuff. So I thought that was an amazing thing. But where some of the edges I think are, we talked about the playmakers, is that the Cincinnati defense in the second half is number one in the defense in the second half of football games. The adjustments that the defense coordinator makes, I think he's getting a good run right now in the public eye, so people are talking about him a lot. I think that's important because in every one of these games, like you mentioned, the three games that we talk about because Joe Burrow was the quarterback of, they were behind in all three games. They won all three games. Well, they wouldn't have won all three games if the defense didn't almost shut them out every one of those games in the third quarter, in the second half of those games. So I like how that kind of plays out. So I like the defensive adjustments that you have there, and I don't think Joe Burrow has a problem with Kansas City because there's a difference between pressure and sacks. Kansas City's pretty good at putting pressure on quarterbacks. They're not really good at bringing him down and making sacks. That's important determination because in this game, the statistic is Joe Burrow gets sacked 3 or less times in his career. His record is 23-3. That includes last week against Buffalo. 23-3 is pretty damn good. So what that tells me is that Kansas City has to sack him 4 times or more. And in the 3 games they played prior, they've sacked him a total of 6 times. So that's an average of 2 times. His passer rate in those games is 121. He has 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's thrown for 327 yards as an average in those 3 games. So I like the idea that Joe Burrow is going to get his, Cincinnati's going to get theirs. So that means can Kansas City keep up? And the way I kind of see it is you got a hobbled Mahomes. Sure, he's got weapons. But if I ask you this question, because I think Kansas City's outperformed what they should have done. I mean, I think they're better in terms of the numbers than what they really are. They're not as good a football team as they were last year. They're not. How could they be? And I get it. They got the guys, they throw the ball to more places. But you take Tyreek Hill off the team, and Nicole Hardeman's been hurt a lot. So you take some of these speedsters off the field. This isn't the same team as what they were a year ago, but yet they were at the same number of wins. So I looked that up. Kansas City played the 29th strength of schedule, 29th. So 3 teams are worse. 2 of them are playing in the other conference, by the way. And then Cincinnati, they went through the 4th toughest strength of schedule, 4th toughest. That's a tested team. These are teams, Cincinnati's played the toughest teams in all their football in football. So I don't think that Kansas City's toughness matches up here either. So I like Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is a better football team. I think Cincinnati, I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss out anything. I think Cincinnati is a team that probably wins the game outright. So the way I bet the game was I certainly took the points because, I mean, whatever points I could get, I didn't realize I was going to get to 2. So I took it at 1.5 when I played it. I played it 2 days ago, I think it was, maybe yesterday, 1.5. And then I also played them on the money line. Now I played them for less on the money line, but I played them on the money line. And I played under 48. Those were the bets that I made on this game.
I don't know if you can pull it up in front of you. I talk about this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I don't think enough people talk about this. You talked about the second half and how dominant this Cincinnati team is. But if you could pull up, Scotty, for me, the Cincinnati schedule this year, I always say the key number is 17 or less. Can you tell me the last time this Bengals team allowed more than 17 points?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. Cincinnati. All right, so you want to know how many times what?
When was the last time the Bengals allowed more than 17 points?
The last time was December the 18th. I don't know how that happened, but December the 18th, they allowed 23 points against Tampa Bay.
Okay. And then take it from there. How many other times?
And then there was December the 4th against Kansas City. They allowed 24. They allowed 30 to Pittsburgh somehow. And in November of the 20th, they allowed 21 to the Carolina Panthers. And then only New Orleans scored in October 26. Dallas and Pittsburgh at the 2 opening weeks when they lost those 2 games, they allowed 23 and 20. Those are the only times they allowed more than 17 points.
So the number that I always talk about with them is 17, and the fact of the matter is, up until the Buffalo game, where Buffalo was projected to, I think their team total was 24.5, juiced over like minus 140 or something, and not even close there. Now you got a 48 with the 2. So again, I think Vegas has got this at that 24-23 number. Will Mahomes and company get to 17? Most likely, yeah. Will they get to 20? Yeah, most likely 21, 23. I don't know. I don't know. And I do know this as you were breaking this down, again, because I think you're spot on. Anyone in on this Chiefs train, if you're playing the Chiefs full game, you better get back to the window and play the Chiefs in the first half, guys. Okay? Because if they're trailing, I know 3, 4, 6, 7. I get that. My point is Cincinnati only gets stronger as the game goes on. I don't know how Pat's ankles, when you get out you hear the crowd, you get out the adrenaline, however they're going to shoot them up. That's one thing. Now you start to play the game. He gets sacked. They roll on the ankle, whatever it is. Then you got the 15 minutes at halftime, and now you come out. My fact is I think the more I try to break this down game is, listen, I talk about the sizzle or the steak. I really think the steak in this is the Bengals. They're the better team, and you broke it down the way I do. I checked the same boxes. Quarterback, I'll give the smallest lean to Mahomes, but it's a toss-up, especially with the ankle, okay? And then I broke it down. Coach, I give that to Andy Reid. Obviously, home field, obviously, because it's in Kansas City. But when you look at the running attack, it's the Bengals. When you look at the wide receivers, it's the Bengals. When you look at the kicker, it's the Bengals. When you look at the defense, it's the Bengals. So again, the Cincinnati side outweighs it. It's just now trying to say, all right.
So let me hit you with this one. So in the red zone, the Kansas City Chiefs offense is number 6. That's pretty good. The Cincinnati Bengals defense is number 5, so it matches. So the Cincinnati Bengals in the red zone offense is number 8. The Kansas City Chiefs, number 26 on defense. That matters, man. I mean, you know, if you can't keep teams from scoring touchdowns and you're kicking field goals, I think that matters. And again, that's just another edge that goes to Cincinnati. And when the Bengals have played the Chiefs so far, one of the things that has to happen is Kansas City needs to be able to put pressure on. We talked about that, get more sacks. Well, they need to do it because when they've played them, it's the game in whatever month it was, December, that they played them this year. Joe Burrow was 7 of 8 with a touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs. 7 of 8 and a touchdown against the blitz. So you want to blitz him? They tried to do that. Okay, well, that's fine. He'll just go 7 of 8, throw a touchdown against you. So I think that's where the problem comes in is, can they get to the quarterback and bring him down without blitzing? And if they can, then, this is going to be one of those kind of situations where maybe this could be a slugfest great game, but I think it's going to be more drawn out than what people think. And I think time of possession, it's going to be fun because the offenses can control the ball. And if they can control the ball, you get 10, 12, 13 play drives, and that eats up the clock. So, for example, say I don't know, let's say Kansas City gets the ball first, they go drive down the field and they score a field goal, and then the Bengals get the ball and drive down the field. First quarter's over. I mean, they might not get a chance to score. They might take 7 to 8 minutes off the clock in the first. So I think that's kind of how the game will go. Each team are going to get a couple of shots here and there, but I think Cincinnati's the team that's going to win, and I think under and taking Cincinnati is the right way.
And I do want to add this. We have Brady Tinker on earlier this week, covers the Cowboys, but also diehard Kansas City fan and does a lot of work with the Chiefs. And he also added, and it compounds to what you're saying, is they are activating CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So there's another back. So you got CEH, you got Pacheco, you got McKinnon. I don't know if Ronald Jones will be activated again. The less that you got to see Mahomes scramble, the more keep away. Back in the day, almost like a Brady versus Peyton Manning, where the Patriots would try to do that running game to keep Peyton Manning off the field because he was a surgical genius against the Pats back in the day there. So it's amazing chess match. Listen, we come back next week whenever you and I do get back on here, and we could say, Jesus, wow, that Brock Purdy, what a superstar. Oh my God, I didn't see that coming. And the same with Mahomes. Mahomes runs for 89 yards. Kels gets 3 touchdowns, Burrow's sacked 5 times, and here it is, Kansas City versus the 49ers. So
I think these are the best teams, man. I mean, these are the best teams in the NFL, and they are for a reason. So I'm not saying that any team can't get beat here. I think a popular line of thought is no matter how you bet it pre-flop, a good way to go in this game is to keep an eye on what you can live bet, because these are games where the lines are within 3 points, and they're going to go a lot depending upon where the ball is on the field and what the score is. And you can start getting some different kind of hedges there if you wanted to go look at them live game too. So I'm going to do that.
Shout out to my good friend Sean Kroll, The Kitchen, just giving me some updates. He's live at Foxwoods. He said he just got in there, and he said Foxwoods right now on DraftKings, Eagles up to 3, Chiefs to -2. And he says people right now at the windows are pounding the unders as we speak. So Listen, we just blinked, and we got an hour and 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, actually an hour and 6 minutes right now. A lot of people watching today, a lot of people listening. Scott, it was amazing to have you back. This is just the preview of the preview. We're going to be doing a lot of baseball analysis, break down the divisions. We're going to talk American League, National League. We're going to do some props, some futures. Obviously, we're going to do a lot of World Baseball Classic. So we got a lot coming up. But as we always do right around now, Scotty, closing thoughts to everyone watching and listening.
Well, I tell you, it's been a little while since I've been on. I miss these shows. I have so much fun with this. It's not that I'm not doing the work. Trust me, I'm doing the work. I'm doing everything that I can do. I mean, my eyes look a little bit baggy, but I mean, but whatever. It is what it is. You get old and, you get less sleep and you look bad. But, it's one of these situations where I love this. And if anything that we do or anything that I do that helps people out, I just feel great about it. So that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm trying to do in any way, shape, or form. If I can help, please let me know.
100%. TJ, thank you. What did he say here? Making some Cuban rice and chicken. Great day ahead. Great show, guys. Let's go, Mets. Let's go, Mets. We're going to have a lot of talk. As you were breaking down the NL East, I was smiling because, yes, the Phillies, NL champs, hell of a World Series run. Mets, good year. I was smiling because the Braves just on paper, they just keep building and building. I cannot wait. I tell you, if Strider's 100%, look out. That's all I can say. Again, am I crazy? They're that good in my eyes.
So I wrote an article and I don't think I published it yet. It's part of the, I'm trying to pull it up here. It's part of the preseason magazine. That's not it. That's the preseason magazine from 2021, 2023. There it is. So in here, you know what people think? People think that baseball is going to rebound and people are going to get a whole bunch of base hits this year. And they're going to get a whole bunch of base hits because there's less than two guys. There's two guys on both sides of second base. That's what they think. So that's not why they don't hit the ball. That's not. I guarantee you that's not the issue. You might see a slight increase in performance on certain players, on certain teams, and primarily left-handed batters. And not all left-handed batters are going to be in this spot, but only some of them. What I find is, and I got to find my little thing here, not the shift. I don't care about that. Elite pitching. Okay, so let me ask you this question, Jeff. I put this out there on a Twitter thing once. I don't know if anybody can remember. Do you know how many pitches last year? Just pitches, not pitchers, but pitches. How many pitches were thrown at 100 miles an hour or more last season?
Oh, man, I have no idea. No idea.
What if I told you that number was over 3,000?
That's a lot of gas.
And you know how many different pitchers threw that? 164 Major League Baseball pitchers threw pitches over 100 miles an hour last year.
None of them wore Red Sox jerseys, I don't think.
So let me tell you this stat. It's never happened before. There were 3 Major League Baseball pitchers that their average velocity. Now I'm not talking the highest speed that they ever throw. I'm talking the average velocity of their fastball was 100 plus miles an hour. 3. Of course, they're all relief pitchers, but there's 3 of them. Now, you want to know how valuable that is? Did you watch the playoffs in the World Series? They opened up that door to the bullpen, and all it was gas. Everybody came in and threw as hard as shit. Every single one of them. And what they don't realize is there's there's this thing, and I'm just got to get off my chest for a second. There's this thing about how great and how dominant with that St. Louis Cardinal pitcher. What the hell's his name? Bob Gibson. So how great Bob Gibson is. And trust me when I tell you, he's great. I'm not saying that he's not. But this is what I want people to understand. Okay? What you're witnessing in Major League Baseball today is the greatest, most difficult pitchers to hit ever assembled in Major League Baseball. Ever. No other time period ever. If you were to take Bob Gibson and drop him into today's pitching staff, he threw his average velocity fastballs 90.5, 91 miles an hour. He's going to get crushed. He would get crushed today. He would be a number 4 or 5 pitcher, and that's only because he's competitive as hell. That's how good today's pitchers are. So that also tells you how good today's hitters are. Major League Baseball has evolved to a league in a sport of premier athletes, particularly the guys that throw the ball. It's amazing. And the best pitch in all of baseball, it's a slider. It's not a fastball. Fastball's the hardest one to hit. But you know how hard these guys throw that damn slider? I mean, if you're throwing 97, 98 miles an hour and you throw a slider now at 93, 94, holy shit, now you know why their arms fall off. Every one of them needs Tommy John surgery because their body can't do that. But yet they go out and do it over and over and over and over and over. So you can tell me all you want to, and I did a whole big article on the shift. It is all about how good these guys pitch and how hard they throw. And the reality is that you can tell me everything you can about anything you want. The shift may change the league batting average by 2 or 3 points. I saw Major League Baseball players, former Major League Baseball players, sit here and tell me, oh, well, last year the batting average for the league was 243. That's what it was, 243. Not very good, 243. They think it's going to be 250, 255 this year because of the shift. Okay, kiss my ass. That's not going to be anywhere close to that. And it's not because the shift wasn't a detriment, because I'm going to be honest. I'm all for anything you can do to hit the baseball. You can hit the baseball, get guys on base, show them how you can do stuff. I think there are going to be more steals in baseball this year. It's going to be a more athletic sport to watch this year. But holy shit, Jeff, you still got to hit the ball. And if you had 3,300 plus pitches at 100 miles an hour this past year, what's it going to be this year? 4,000? 4,500? You got 164 pitches that threw it last year. Maybe this year you get over 200. It's amazing to watch. And then people sit there and think they know what it is because the shift is taking away all these hits. And I get it. I don't want them to take away hits either because you got to keep guys on base. And then the old school guys like me and you sit there and go, get them on, move them over, get them in. You can't do that anymore, man. Shit. Just trying to hit the balls enough. You can't get them on, get them over. So that's why they hit the home runs, and that's why they strike out, and that's what happens. So that's the way baseball is. That's not going to change much just because of the way pitchers are. Sorry, I got on a tangent there.
All good, all good, all good. That's the Mr. Scott T. Webb, and the crawler's been going the whole time. Obviously, everyone knows where to follow us at EC Sports Investor on Twitter. Scotty is always at Webby20MLB. Reach out, follow him, ask a question. He does follow back. He does answer questions as the season progresses. Myself and Scotty will be doing a lot more shows, probably during the week, tailored more to the evening with the new studio. And then I seem to be living here. We'll be penciling in those in routinely. And then on the weekends, we'll be figuring that out as well. We get to the WBC, the betting guide that you will publish, and we will make sure that we have on site so everyone can download whatever they're going to do so they can have the information to cash some tickets. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one, the only, beam 'em up Scotty at Webby20MLB. We wish everyone a blessed day. Have some fun. The week is over for the ECSI VIPs. An alert will be out soon. We'll sprinkle in a couple of the NFL games. We might, third leg will probably be on the frozen pond today. We'll see. So see you soon. See you next week, actually.